Integration of Selenium Grid and Docker to automation project. We need to develop an automation project. We'll take one simple website. We'll just automate a particular functionality based on page object model. Before going to automate, before going to develop the project folder structure, integrating with Selenium Grid and Docker, you need to understand few important things. First point is automation framework. What is automation framework? Any framework, not only automation, is used to organize project to related files. Project related files. What are project related files? Every project will be having configurations, will be having logs, page objects with respect to automation, reports. Once you execute anything, once you execute any code, at the end of the day, you will have logs, you will have reports. With respect to your automation, if your automation code fails, you need to take the screenshots. You will have test cases inside test suites. You have test data for data driven testing. You will have reusable modules you will just use across different features of a project. So any framework is used to organize project related files. Coming to automation framework, so automation will also have some project related files. So to organize the project related files, we need this automation framework. What are project related files? Just now we have seen configurations, logs, page objects, test cases, test data. You will have screenshots, reports, utilities. These are project related files. These project related files we need to organize. To organize, we need a framework. That framework is called as an automation framework. What is the advantage of organizing these project related files? The main advantage is reusability. Reusability. When I am saying reusability, the code which you defined at one place, you are using at multiple places. You are reusing, not recreating. If you are reusing, that is reusability. If that is reusability, you are avoiding duplication. You are avoiding duplication. Along with reusability, you have one more advantage is maintainability. Maintainability. If you are referring a code at multiple places, if you are maintaining that code at multiple places, if there is some change which you need to make tomorrow or in near future, in one place you can change. What the changes you have made at one place, those can be reflected at multiple places if we are referring that function class in that respective module. With the help of this automation framework, you can achieve this reusability and maintainability. Framework is used to organize project related files. How many types of frameworks available? Types of frameworks. Types of frameworks. Most of the people, those who are working in an industry, IT industry, they might be knowing. There are two types of frameworks. One is predefined frameworks. Predefined frameworks. And the other is user defined frameworks. User defined or customized frameworks. User defined or customized frameworks. Predefined, this name itself says there is a programming language. In that programming language, you'll have some defined frameworks. Like if you take Java, you have TestNG. Also, you have JUnit. These are predefined frameworks whenever you are working with Java. Whenever you are working with Python, PyTest is a popular framework which we'll be using this extensively in automation projects. Along with PyTest, you also have this unit test framework. Unit test framework. Suppose if you are working with C sharp, you have N unit. If you are working with .NET, you have N unit. So these are different types of predefined frameworks. Along with the programming language, they will come. If you are working with Java, TestNG, JUnit are predefined frameworks. Python, PyTest, unit test are predefined frameworks. .NET, NUnit is a predefined framework. They cannot be customized. If they cannot be customized, if you have to use as it is, they are called as predefined frameworks. What are user-defined frameworks or customized frameworks? This name itself says user-defined or customized. That means based on the business requirement, user can define his own framework by using predefined frameworks. These are predefined frameworks. By using these predefined frameworks, as per business logic, a tester or a developer develops his own framework. Those are called as user defined as well as a customized framework. Why they are customized? As per the requirement, he is customizing, he is modifying the framework. So they are called as user defined or customized frameworks. What are different types of user defined or customized frameworks? Data driven framework. Data driven framework. First framework is what it does, it uses external data to drive test cases for data driven testing. Other type of predefined framework is keyword driven framework. Keyword driven framework. Keyword driven. Whenever we execute any automation script, before executing, you need to write that automation script. Let me show you. This is what the PyCharm which I have already installed. I'm just opening this project. This is what the project which I have dealt for previous batches. This is what the project. You can see it here. This is what a module. These modules containing this classes. By is one class. WebDriver is a module. Like this, you'll have n number of classes, functions inside a module. You take a plain automation script, test.py. This is what a simple automation script without page object model. You can see it here. To execute some automation script, you need to import modules, you need to import classes, you need to specify browser options, you need to specify methods, you need to specify functions so that your automation script will execute. But in case of this keyword driven framework, you will not use any methods or functions. You will use only keywords. With the help of keywords, you will execute an automation script. You can write an automation script. The type of frameworks which uses keywords, keyword driven frameworks. Best example is most of you people already know this robot framework. Robot framework is the best example of a keyword driven framework. What is another type of customized framework? It is modular framework. Modular framework. When I am saying modular, this name can be split into two names, modules. So there is an application. That application is a combination of multiple modules. If you divide the application into smaller modules and test those smaller and independent modules separately, they are called as modular frameworks. A big application is split into some small pieces. If you test each piece which is independent on other piece, that piece is called as a module. So those type of frameworks are called as modular frameworks. At last, we have hybrid driven framework. Hybrid driven framework. That means what are all the features available in data driven framework, keyword driven framework, modular framework. You will combine all these in one place in one framework. That framework is called as hybrid driven framework. As a part of this project, as a part of the integration, which you will be learning in the future as well, will be dealing this hybrid framework, which is a customized or user defined framework. So to implement framework, you need a pattern. What is that pattern? Page object model pattern. Page object model pattern. These are some basic things, guys. Before going to jump into the integration, before going to develop the project from the scratch, these are the basic things which you need to understand. What is this page object model pattern? This page object model pattern is also called as a page object repository. For every page, you'll have elements. Those elements are called as objects inside that page. So they are called as a page objects. Page object model, this pattern is called as page object repository or page object factory. This is also called as. Generally, we'll have multiple test cases. There can be some hundreds of test cases. If you take any automation project, you'll not write 100 test cases or 200 test cases, even more than that, depending upon the complexity of the application. We'll have lot of test cases in our project. For every test case, we'll include certain number of elements on the web page. Every web page will be having lot of elements. But inside that web page, you will only interact with a few elements along with the test methods. When I am saying test methods, the actions performed on those elements are represented in the form of test methods. Instead of including everything in one file, we will maintain test cases and page objects in two different classes. By this time, you will not understand this point. Don't worry. Going ahead, we will implement without page object model with page object model. If you don't include everything in one file, if you maintain different classes for every automation, that is called as a page object model pattern. It talks about how you can maintain or manage page object elements. Every page, if you see here, this is what a demo website. This demo website is having home page. Similarly, this demo website is also having another page which is registration page. It is also having another page, login page. Like this, every web application will be having a lot of pages. If you take Amazon website, this is what the home page of Amazon. When you click on return or orders, this is return or orders page. When you click on cart, this is cart page. Like this, there are n number of pages, lot of pages involved in an application. For every page, you will have page objects. On those page objects, you will perform some actions. So they needs to be represented in different classes. That representation, that managing, that maintaining page object elements for multiple test cases, which is nothing but page object model. It's not a framework. Most of the people will think it's a framework. It's not a framework. It's a pattern. If it is a pattern, you need to know how you can manage or maintain page objects or page elements. So the main advantage of this page object model pattern is, as we have seen, the same advantages with respect to this automation framework: reusability and maintainability. So these are the two advantages of this page object model pattern. So without page object model pattern, if we implement any automation project without page object model pattern, you'll have two disadvantages. One is duplication and the other is maintenance issue. Maintenance issue. So these are the two disadvantages once you implement any project without page object model pattern. Right now, we will implement some functionality. We'll test some functionality without page object model. Once you understand the disadvantages of this page object model pattern, we'll go for how you can implement this page object model pattern step by step. We'll create a separate project. We'll develop a page object model pattern. We'll have all the things in place as per this document. We'll follow step by step. You can see it here. I'm just taking this website. This is what a demo website. Tutorial ninja.com. It's what an e-commerce website. I have just taken this for demo purpose. Inside this application, you have one feature. What is that feature? Logging into that application. Login. So once I click on login, I need to provide email address as well as password, and I need to click on this login button so that I will be able to log in into this application. To perform any automation, to write any automation script, to write any automation script, first of all, you need to perform manual walkthrough of the application. Manual walkthrough is required. To write an automation script, first manual walkthrough is required. What are the things which you are doing manually? At the end of the day, you will write an automation script for that. So in this case, I'm just automating this login into the application functionality. Login is one of the functionality into that application. I need to automate this functionality. So I'm just repeating one more time. This is what the home page. When I refresh the page, I'll be here in the home page. Once I click on this my account, once I click on this login button, login element, you land onto this login page. This login page is containing two fields. One is email address and the other is password. You need to provide email address. So in this case, I have already created this email address abcxyz@gmail.com. Also, the password is abcxyz. Once you provide username or email address and password, just click on login button. Once you click on login button, you can see this is what your application will allow you to access the resources. Once you successfully log in, you will be able to see this element, my account element is displayed. This is what you need to simulate with the help of an automation script. You need to write an automation script for this login functionality. I am writing this automation script right now without a page object model pattern. You can see it here. I'm just going to PyCharm and just creating a new project. Click on new project. So I'm just giving the name as workshop. This is for the location where you are keeping your project. This is for the version of the Python. There can be n number of versions which you can install in your system. Just click on create. Once you click on create, it is creating this virtual environment. It will take some time. Once it is created a virtual environment, try to create one simple script. What is that? Automation script for logging in to that application. Every automation script you will write in modules. What is a module? Any file with .py extension is called as a module. This is what a project. Inside this project, you will have lot of modules organized in the form of packages as well as directories. In this case, just I am creating a simple module without any page object model. I am not implementing any automation framework. Just for your information, I'm just creating an automation project, a simple code. Right click on this project, mouse over onto new. There will be one of the option Python file. Every Python file will have some name. In this case, login underscore logout. I'm just giving some simple name, login underscore logout. This is what the module name. Once I click on enter on my keyboard, a module with .py extension is automatically created. A file with .py extension, any Python file is called as a module. Inside this, I need to import this WebDriver, Selenium package, all the stuff. How I am importing, try to listen this very carefully. Those who did not understand this code, don't worry, don't bother about this at all. If you are a beginner, don't bother about this. If you already know, try to understand this very clearly. From Selenium, import WebDriver. This is what one of the way how you can import a module from a package. Selenium is a package. This package containing, this suite containing one of the tool, one of the product, one of the software which is WebDriver. WebDriver is a module which is present inside this Selenium package. Right now, you can see what it is saying. It is raising two errors. Unresolved reference Selenium, unresolved reference WebDriver. That means these are two different things which are not available inside this workshop project. How you can install these packages? If it is a package, inside a package you will be having modules. This is not a problem. Once you install package, Selenium is what a package. Inside this package you can have this WebDriver module. You can install that WebDriver module, or you can call that WebDriver module. You can use that WebDriver module. How you can install this? There are two ways. I'm only making you understand with respect to one way. That is, I will use the terminal. It's a command line interface to interact with a project, to execute some commands. Once you click on terminal, it will just open you some window which is locating in the directory workshop. Workshop is what a root directory where you have kept your project, where you have kept your modules. So inside that, you need to execute your commands. Right now, I will install this Selenium. This is what the Selenium official website. Selenium, which is official website. Just search for Selenium. Once you click on this link, which is official link, you can see only three tools. In the three tools, one of the tool is WebDriver. So just click on that WebDriver, or to see, you need to read even more information about that WebDriver. You can just click on read more. Right now, I am just clicking on downloads. Once I click on downloads, these are different client libraries. You can work with Selenium by using different languages. You can use Java, Python, JavaScript, Ruby, C# also. We will use Python right now. What is the latest version of the Selenium WebDriver with respect to this Python? 4.25.0. So I need to install this Selenium version. So how you can install? You can just issue one command, pip install Selenium. Pip is a Python package installer to install any package, any library inside Python. Pip install Selenium. Once I click on enter, you can see it is installing Selenium right now. It will take some time. It will just install that. To see whether it is installed or not, you can just use pip list command. Pip list. You can see once I issue this pip list, so these are all the packages available. One of the package is Selenium. Just now we have installed that latest version of Selenium 4.25.0. Once you install this Selenium, you can see there is no errors here. Errors are automatically gone. You can just close this terminal. From Selenium, import WebDriver. Selenium is what a package. WebDriver is what a module. From selenium.webdriver.common.by import by class. Whenever you are learning this Selenium WebDriver, we will understand different type of locator strategies to locate an element. One is by using ID, name, class name, link text, partial link text like this. N number of strategies are there. CSS selectors, XPath, relative XPath, XPath with options, absolute XPath, XPath axis. To specify the type of locator, you need this by class inside this Selenium WebDriver. From selenium.webdriver.common.by import by. Now, what you need to do, every web browser will be having some options. In the WebDriver, for a specific browser, you have a specific options. For Chrome browser, you have Chrome options. For Edge browser, you have Edge options. For Firefox, Firefox options. For every browser, you have an options inside this WebDriver. Those options are represented in the form of classes. Just initialize an object. In this case, I'm just giving the name as opt. Opt dot add experimental option. So this is what a recent feature in Selenium WebDriver. Without this option, you can't execute your test cases. Detach, comma, true. You need to specify this. This is what a mandatory parameter. If you don't specify this parameter, your browser will open and close immediately, even though you don't pass this close command. So you need to use this particular option. You can learn in detail whenever we are learning this from the scratch, from the very beginning. Now I will initialize a driver variable. Driver is what a variable. Driver equal to WebDriver dot Chrome. For every browser, you have a separate class. WebDriver is what a superclass. Inside this superclass, you are having multiple classes. To execute your test cases, you need to call a respective class. For Chrome browser, you have Chrome class. For Edge browser, you have Edge class. For Firefox browser, you have Firefox class. Like this, multiple classes. Right now, I will execute my test cases in Chrome browser. Going ahead, you will implement this in Edge browser as well as Firefox browser as well. Driver equal to WebDriver.Chrome. It will take options parameter. For this options parameter, you need to pass the value of this parameter. That value is called as an argument. Parameter is different, argument is different. When we learn these functions, there is a clear-cut understanding with respect to parameters and functions. But right now it is not required. With the help of this driver variable, you will use this get method to open an URL. So what is the URL? It was the URL of an AUT, application under test. This is what the application under test, which I am just using. Now, once you open this URL in that instance, Chrome instance, you need to maximize that window to properly load elements. You need to implement waits. There are 4 waits which you will use to avoid synchronization problems. So one of the wait is implicit wait. I am just specifying the time of 10 seconds. Driver.implicit wait of 10 seconds. Let us execute this. Also, you need to implement this quit command, driver.quit. It will kill the process. It will kill existing browsers. Once you execute any action on a specific element, you need to close the browser. It's a mandatory thing. I'm just executing this run login logout. You can see it here. It is able to open Chrome instance and able to pass this URL AUT application under test, able to maximize that and able to close that immediately. I will just comment this. Let me execute this one more time. Run login logout. You can see it here. It is able to open Chrome browser, Chrome instance. In that Chrome instance, it is passing AUT application under test. Yes, it is working fine. There is no problem at all. Once I open this AUT, I will land onto this home page. What I need to do, I need to perform click action on this my account element. Once I perform click action on this my account element, I will see two options. One is register and other is login. So I need to click on this login to log in into this application by providing username and password. I will just simulate these actions by using this automation script. I'm using this code directly driver dot find element by dot. I'm just using here XPath. I can just use this XPath. So one of the strategy is XPath. So I'm just taking this as selector sub. So just using this very clearly. Instead of this, let me write my own XPath or any of the locator. You can see here, this is what the elements tab. You can just locate any elements here. So this is what the HTML of that element. So I need to write an XPath /pan. So it contains a text. What is the text? My account is what the text. My account. You can see that it is able to identify that element. I am just taking this, coming here, driver.find element inside quotes. I'll just specify the locator. Once I locate that element, I need to perform click action, dot click. Similarly, driver dot find element by dot link text. I will just use this link text. Why I am using this link text? The reason is once I click on this my account, it is showing you two options, register and login. So both are links. Every link you can just identify by using link text. So this is what a link. Every link will be having a tag name of a. I'm just using anchor tag, which is a link. That link is having some text. So to identify that element, I'm using this link text. Login is for the link text. So on that link also I need to perform click action. Once I perform click action on this link, you will land onto this login page. Once you land onto this login page, what you need to do, you need to provide email address as well as password to these text boxes, and you need to perform click action on that login button. I'm directly writing it here. I have already in hand this code. Once I perform click action on the login button, I will land onto this login page, which is having this email as well as password text boxes. I need to provide some email address as well as password. Once I provide email address and password, what I need to do, I need to perform click action on the login button. So once I perform click action on the login button, it will log in into that application. So once it is logging into that application, it will give some confirmation message. Let us see what it gives that confirmation message. This is what the email address, and this is what the password ABCXYZ. These are the credentials which I have already registered. So I'm just directly using it here, email address as well as password. Just click on login. Once you click on login, you can see this is what the login page. Once you successfully enter your username and password, so you will get this my account on this page. So you need to check whether it is available or not. Just take this selector, just click on this. You can see it here. It is just having this my account. So you need to write some XPath for this. So Control F. I'm just writing it very clearly. I'm going very fastly. H2 is for the tag name. So what is the text here? In this case, my account is what the text. Once you successfully log in, you will have this text in place, my account. I'm just taking this. So which is a confirmation message. Confirmation message. Confirmation message. So what is that confirmation message? Driver, you need to identify that. So post that, you can just store it in this variable, its status, whether it is displayed or not. So driver dot find element by dot xpath, and this is what the xpath of a specific element. I need to check whether this message is displayed or not. So I will use this conditional statement is a display. If it is displayed, it will return you a true boolean value. Store it in this variable. You can just check whether it is true or not. Assert by using these assertions. Assert confirmation message equal to true. This is what you can just check. If it is displayed, this condition becomes true. If this condition becomes true, your whole test case which you are writing without page object model will pass. If it is not, it will fail your test case right away. I am executing this. After commenting this, quit, run, login, logout. It is able to enter username and password very quickly so that it has landed onto this page, my account. So you can see it here without any issue. It is just completing the execution of automation test script. Very, very simple it is. I'm just closing this. This is how you are implementing your automation script without a page object model. What is the main disadvantage here? Only one test case you are just automating here. One functionality you are just automating. Like this, there are n number of functionalities. Not only one single functionality, n number of functionalities. In that case, what you will do, you need to write multiple test cases like this. If you are writing multiple test cases, this is what the common code which you will repeat across multiple test cases which you are automating a functionality. If it is one test case, this is absolutely fine. There is no issue. If it is multiple test cases, you need to reuse the same code, which is a boilerplate code again and again. That means you are duplicating the code. If you are duplicating the code, two issues. One is memory issue. Memory will be full. And the other issue is, if you want to modify this code, today you have this version of Selenium 4.25.0. Tomorrow you have another version of Selenium. In that case, you need to go to each and every place. You need to modify this boilerplate code. This is what the thing which you need to do. So to avoid that, to avoid duplication, to achieve maintainability, you will go for page object model pattern. Page object model pattern. So this page object model pattern, for every page, you should have a page object class. Every page will be having a page object class. Along with that page objects, it needs to have the methods. Method means the actions on those elements. We'll just implement this with the help of this page object model pattern. So these are the thumb rules which you need to aware of before implementing this page object model pattern. Page object should not forget this. Page object should contain very important points. Locators. Locators are nothing but these things. You can see it here. For identifying my account element here, which is an object of that page, I have specified one locator. Locator is what? An address. Page object should contain locators. Along with locators, it should also contain action methods. On these respective elements, you will perform some action. This is what a link or a button. On this button or a link, you are performing click action. This is what a text box. Previously, we have seen here email address text box, password text box. These are the text boxes. On these text boxes, what you will do, you will perform some sending the text action, so by using send keys method. So every page object should contain locators along with action methods. Also it should contain constructor. Why you need constructor? To declare and initialize instance members of a class, you need this constructor. Driver variable which you are seeing here is what? An instance variable. If it is an instance variable, you can use across multiple methods of a class. These are the things you should not forget when implementing this page object model pattern. And one more important thumb rule: number of locators. Number of locators equal to number of action methods. Number of action methods. Number of elements, on those elements only you will perform some action. If there is no element, you will not perform any action. So number of locators are equal to number of action methods. So these are the thumb rules which you should not forget when implementing this page object model pattern. Right now we have only seen how you can implement this without page object model pattern. I will implement the same script with the help of page object model pattern. I'll just keep this module as it is. I will implement this page object model pattern with the help of automation framework. We have seen this automation framework is used to organize this project related files supporting this page object model pattern. So you need to create this automation framework. For this automation framework, you'll be having a project folder structure. Project folder structure. From here onwards, you need to be very careful while listening. Project folder structure. We are just implementing this project folder structure. How you can implement? We'll follow this document. This is what the document. First point is you need to create a new project, and inside that project you need to install required packages or plugins. We have already created a new project. What is that new project? Workshop is what? A new project. Inside that we have created some module which is without page object model pattern. Fine, this is absolutely fine. But right now I need to implement this page object model pattern. So I need to create a new project, which is I have done already. I need to create requirements.txt file. Inside that requirements.txt file, what are all the things which are required? I need to specify inside that requirements.txt file. Generally, if you are from Java background, you'll have pom.xml file where you will specify all the dependencies. But in Python, you'll specify all the dependencies in the requirements.txt file. In the requirements.txt file. So let us follow step by step. This is what the project. Right click on the project, mouse over onto new. You can see one of the option file. Click on the file. Requirements.txt. So in that requirements.txt file, you need to specify the packages or plugins required for this project. So for this project, I'm specifying PyTest. I'm using this PyTest directly. Yes, there is a lot of explanation for this PyTest framework, which I can't be able to cover in this workshop. PyTest is one of a framework which we will use when implementing this page object model pattern. Along with PyTest, we need this Selenium. Along with the Selenium, to generate reports, we need this HTML package, PyTest-HTML. To do parallel testing, we need this PyTest-XDIST package. So these are the different things just we require. Yes, there are a lot of packages which you can work with that project. But right now in this case, I'm just only having these few things. So I will just specify this as it is. Now you need to install this. So how you can install? Yes, there are a number of ways. I'll specify one way. So just to go to terminal, just to specify this command, pip install requirements.txt. Requirements.txt. Just click on enter. Once you click on enter, it is saying that no matching distribution for requirements.txt. Let us try this one more time. I'm just closing this. I'm just opening this. One more time we can create this requirements.txt file. If it is not recognizing, you can just delete this. Right click, file, requirements. So you can see it here. You can just specify the packages. PyTest is one package. Selenium PyTest hyphen xdist, PyTest hyphen html. So these are different packages. So you need to specify the name as refactor.txt. Refactor. So once you refactor, it is saying that is not installed. So you need to install this. Install all missing packages. Once you click on enter, you can see it is installing package pytest-xtst. So all the packages are installed. So this is one way. Generally, I have all the software to recognize this requirements.txt file. So when you specify this requirements.txt file, once you create this requirements.txt file in your project, this Python interpreter will ask you whether I need to install these packages which you are specifying in this requirements.txt file or not. So at that particular point of time, just to click on install. That's it. Or one more way is you are right now here in the project location. So you can specify pip install hyphen r requirements.txt. So once you specify this command, very important command. Previously, we have not specified this R, pip install requirements.txt. So that is the reason it is saying that no distribution matched. But right now you need to append this with R, hyphen R, very important command. So once you specify this command in the terminal, all the required packages will be installed. Right now I have already installed. So you can see requirement already satisfied. It's what it's displaying. So you can check pip list. It will show you the list of packages installed. So Selenium, PyTest-xtxt, HTML. So these are different packages just now we have installed. Selenium is already previously installed. So you can see that as it is. We have completed installing this required packages and plugins. You need to create this project folder structure. Very, very important thing. If you want to implement any project, that project will be having some structure. So similarly, this automation also will be having some structure. So what is the structure? You need to create configurations, logs, page objects, reports, screenshots, test cases, test data, utilities, like this. If you observe, page objects is what? A package. Test cases is what? A package. Utilities is what? A package. Accordingly, I'm just creating package is different, directory is different. Very important difference it is, package and directory. Right click on the project, click on a directory. So one directory, first thing is configurations. Next directory is creating very fastly, logs is one directory. You have a package. What is that package? Page objects is what? A package. Similarly, you have a directory, reports. Once you execute your test case, you need to get the reports. You have a reports directory. Also, you need to take the screenshots if the test case is failed. Screenshots directory. Along with the screenshots, you have another package, test cases package. Also, you have test data folder, which is nothing but a directory for specifying test data for data driven testing. Also, you have one more package, utilities package, for specifying a reusable code. So these are the different things which you need to create as a part of this project related folder structure. So this is what the dummy test case which I have just made you understand without page object model. Right now, we will implement the same functionality with the page object model pattern. So whenever you are implementing this page object model pattern, this is not a file of this page object model pattern, not a file of this project. Just for your information, at the very beginning, I have created and I have made you understand. That's it. Now we will implement this page object model pattern. So follow this document step by step. First thing, you need to create page objects class for home page as well as login page under page objects. This is what the page objects package. Inside this, you need to create two classes inside two different modules. So first module is home page. Home page. This is what one module. Also, you have another module login page. So these are two different modules. Inside these modules, for a home page, what are all the elements you are having? When you log in into this application, this is what the home page. Inside this home page, you need to go to login page. To go to login page, you need to click on this my account. Once you click on this my account, you need to click on this login button. So these are the two elements which you need to interact in this home page. So for these two elements, as per this page object model pattern, you need to have locators, you need to have action methods along with the constructor. So you can see it here. I'm already having a home page class ready. I'm just pasting it here. So if you see this, very clearly, it is very clear. You can see it here. Home page is having two elements. One is my account element as well as login element. These are the locators of those elements. Along with the locators, we have methods. Methods are nothing but actions on those elements. Along with action methods, you have a constructor which is used to initialize instance members of a class. Also, you need to have this login page. Once you click on this login button, you will land onto this login page. On this login page, you will have email address text box, password text box, login button. So three elements, three page objects, three locators, three action methods. So if you see here, I have already in place. For every page, we need to create a class. For login page class. For home page class. Inside classes, you will have locators. Email, text box, password text box, login button. So once you click on login after providing email address and password, if they are very correct, you will see this message, confirmation message. So these are four elements. For those four elements, four action methods, because number of locators equal to number of action methods. Along with action methods, you need to have constructor. This is what we have created. This is absolutely fine. There is no issue at all. Now, what you need to do? You need to create a conf.test.py file. So this conf.test.py file is having fixtures which they will execute before and after execution of a test case. So inside test cases, you need to create a Python file which is a conf test file. So inside this conf test, what you need to do, you need to specify fixtures. I am just writing it this very clearly. Import PyTest. From Selenium, import WebDriver. Define setup. Setup is what? A fixture function. So any function to be declared as a fixture function, you need to specify @fixture method decorator. Fixture @pytest.fixture. This is what you can just specify. So setup is what? A function which is a fixture function. So inside this fixture function, you need some statements which they needs to be executed before execution of a test case. Fixtures are the functions which having some statements which they will be executed before execution of a test case. Right now, I need to create a test case. I need to create login test case under test cases. I'm implementing all these things with the help of page object model pattern. You should not forget this page object model pattern. I'm implementing this. Now I need to create. So I'm just creating test underscore login. Test underscore login. So let me rename this. Rename to test capital L. It should be. You should follow the naming convention so that PyCharm will automatically understand this. PyTest will automatically understand that. So this is what the actual test method by using this page object model pattern. First thing, I need to import this PyTest. Import PyTest. This is what the unit testing framework. So if you are implementing any framework, you need this default framework, predefined framework, built-in framework, PyTest. So along with the PyTest, inside page objects, you have created these two modules, home page as well as login page. You need to import them from page objects dot home page. Home page is what? A module. Inside that module, you are having a class. What is that class? Home page class. You need to import that home page class, home page. Similarly, from page objects dot login page, import login page class. You are just importing classes. Let us create a class test login, test underscore login. This is what? A class. Inside this class, you are having a method test underscore login. Login is what? A method. Test underscore. Should be very careful whenever you are writing test underscore login. If it is a method, you need to specify self as a parameter to a method if it is defined inside a class. Before execution of this test case, there are some prerequisites. You need to open your browser. You need to establish database connections like this, where you will specify in the fixtures. You will just call these fixtures as an argument here, setup. Before execution of a test case, this setup function is automatically executed. So just initialize that as an instance variable. Self dot driver. Driver is what? A variable, instance variable. So once you call this a setup fixture, it will return you driver. Just initialize the driver by storing it in some variable as an instance variable. With the help of that instance variable, you can just perform all the actions. You can just open that website, maximize that window, the same actions which you have performed here inside this login logout module without page object model. With the help of this driver variable, you have opened this URL, you have maximized, you have implemented this implicit wait, you have used this find element, all these methods you have done. So the same thing I'm just specifying it here. But how I am specifying? With the help of page object model pattern. You should not forget this. Now let us execute this so that it will run or not. I'm executing this with the help of page object model pattern. Run Python test. You can see it here. It is opening this Chrome browser, executing a script, and it is saying that it is passed. This is one way of execution. What is another way? So just click on this terminal. Use this command pytest -s -v. So inside this current directory, you have test cases package. Test cases. Inside test cases, you have a test case which is test login. You need to execute that test case. pytest -s -v -im test cases. So just click on enter. So once you click on enter, you can see the test case inside that test cases package is executed successfully. This is absolutely fine. You have created test cases under test cases package. What you need to do, if your test case got failed, you need to take the screenshots. So you need to update this test case with the screenshots. Once you successfully log in into that application, you will get this confirmation message. If you don't get the confirmation message, that means you have entered wrong credentials, or that application is down, or application is having some issues. So you will not have this confirmation message as true. You can just take the screenshot inside this else part by using this save screenshot method. Driver.save screenshot. This is one of the way to save the screenshots. So for that you need to specify the path where you need to take the screenshots. You can see for specifying the location you need this OS module. You can just import this operating system module. So import os is what? The module. Wantedly I'm failing the script right now. You can see it here, AB. I'm just failing the script wantedly. So if the script is failed, it needs to take the screenshot automatically inside this screenshots folder with this name, test login dot png. Let me save this with this extension. So if you see here, I'm just executing this one more time. I'm wantedly failing the script. These are wrong credentials. So if your test case got failed after 10 seconds, you can see it here. It can say assertion error. So if this is got failed, you can just refresh this, reload from the disk. os.path.absolute path, os.current directory. So inside this, you can just specify the screenshot where you can take the screenshot. So it is not able to take in this case. os.path.absolute path. So let us see one more way. os.path.absolute path, os.get current working directory. Inside this you have the screenshots. So inside this you need to save with this name. You can take the screenshot, you can just take with this name, screenshots. Yes, right click, or you can just execute this one more time. This is another way of execution. You can see it here. It is the wrong credentials which I have just taken. So you can see right now it has taken the screenshot. So this is where your test case is getting failed. If your test case got failed, you need to capture the screenshots on failures. That's what you are just updating with the screenshots. Test cases with the screenshot, test case with the screenshot. Now one more important point. You have specified email as well as password here directly. You should not specify like this. You should not hard code any parameters in the test case. Very important point. No hard coding of parameters. You should not hard code anything. The same credentials which you are using here may be using across multiple test cases. That means these are common credentials. What you need to do, you need to create a file which is config.ini file. Inside configurations, right click on this, click on new, click on file, just to specify the file name as config.ini file. So inside this config.ini file, you need to specify common information. When I am saying common information, the information which is used across multiple test cases. This is what the application URL for this application. To log in into that application, this is what the email, this is for the password which you need to specify. By default, the parameters, the options inside this config.ini will not be recognized by a automation script. What you need to do, you need to create a properties file. What that properties file will do, this properties file will read the information from this common info section inside this config.ini file. So where you need to create that properties file? So inside utilities, right click on the utilities, click on new, click on Python file, read properties. So just specify it here. You can see this is what the properties file. So always say module needs to have a camel case, properties, capital P, read properties. This is for the proper name, properties. Just click on enter. You can see this is what a module. Inside this module you are having a class. Inside the class you are having methods. These are static methods. With the help of class name, you can directly call these static methods. So these static methods will read application URL email as well as password with help of methods. Once you call these methods, they will return you username as well as passwords and URLs. I should not hard code anything inside a test case. Thumb rule this is. This is what a thumb rule. You should not hard code anything inside test cases. If you hard code, it is not a proper test case implementation. So now what you need to do, you need to replace this hard coded values. You can see it here. You have just imported this read config class inside this read properties. You have just imported this read properties. Inside that read properties, you are having a class. Inside that class, you are having a methods, multiple methods. So all are static methods. With the help of a class name, you can call those methods. Class name, read config is what a class name. Application URL, you are just getting. So storing in some variable, base URL. Similarly, user, password. These are credentials which you need, and you are passing the same credentials, base URL, username, as well as password to this application. You are not hard coding anything. Instead of that, you are maintaining in one place, and just you are reading the common data with the help of one module, and just you are referring inside a test case. Like this, you can refer across multiple test cases. Also, once you avoid hard coding, you just read the common values from the INI file. You can specify those inside test cases. I'm skipping this adding logs to the test case right now. Running test on the desired browser also. But right now I will generate the reports. And you can also see how you can achieve this parallel testing. But right now I am only having this one test case. Like this, if you are having multiple test cases, you can run test cases in parallel also. This is how you can run by using this pytest-xtist package. So these are the simple things, very simple things. So that is the reason why I am avoiding. You need to generate the reports. Once you execute any test case, you need to generate the report. How you can generate the report? You need to update the conftest.py file with hooks. You can see it here. This is what the conftest file which we are using. If you see this conftest.py, which you will specify fixtures. If you want to execute in one browser, this is fine. You are specifying that with the help of Chrome options for Chrome browser. If I want to execute in Edge, if I want to execute in Firefox, you need to have multiple if conditions. You need to use this multiple if conditions. Otherwise, you will get an error. Let us try to refactor this. Otherwise, it will be an issue if you don't specify this properly. So parser is what is used to read the option from the command line. So I'm used to pass the same option to the test case, and you need to specify this conf test file with this hook as well. So this hook every time will generate the report in a specific location. What is that location? Reports location. You can read an option from the command line also. So these are all the things, guys, and just making you clear in only one single line by copy and pasting. But when we do the project, you'll have all these things, lot of sessions, like almost some 5 to 6 hours of class is required to make you understand this very clearly. Our main agenda is to integrate Docker and Selenium Grid to that existing project. For that, you are just implementing this. So let us try to execute this one more time. I'm just executing this with the help of this browser parameter. Right before, I have not used this browser parameter, but right now I'm using this browser parameter to specify my test case to execute in desired browser. Right now I want to execute my test case in Firefox. You can just specify Firefox. You can see it here. Your test case is executing right now in Firefox browser. You can specify any of the browser option. Also, once you develop all the test cases, you can group the test cases. So before grouping, before going to see this area, we have executed the test case right now. For this test case execution, you need to see the reports. To see the reports, we have just updated this conf.test.py file with a hook. This hook is used to generate the reports inside this location. So what is that location? Open card. This is not the location. You need to specify the location as workshop. Workshop is for the location. This is for the root directory. Also, this root properties is having this config.ini file. Yeah, this is very clear. Otherwise, you'll not be able to generate the reports. Let us execute this one more time. I'm just executing this in Firefox. If you see here, it is successfully executed, and you can see this is what the report just now it is generated. I'm just opening this in one of a browser, Chrome browser. You can see this is what the report. These are the metadata of that report. You can also edit this metadata. You can add some metadata. If you are having some logs, those logs are captured here. Right now, I am not having any logs. I have not specified any logs. So you can see the report is empty without logs, and the status is passed. This is how you can just generate the report. Also, once you have multiple test cases, you need to categorize them into multiple groups. For grouping, you need this markers. At the rate pytest.mark.sanity regression, also you will have smoke. So these are multiple groups of test cases available. Sanity, regression, smoke, like this. You need to add them inside this pytest.ini file. Whenever you are executing a command, pytest-s-v, just now we have executed pytest-s-v, but I have not specified -m here. -m is nothing but a marker. You have a lot of test cases. Some test cases are grouped under sanity, regression, as well as smoke. If you want to execute a specific group of test cases, you can specify that marker name, grouping name, along with this -m inside this command line. So it will just take that only test cases which they can be executed inside that respective group. So these are very simple things which we can do whenever we are implementing a project. But right now, it is not required. Also, you can run your test case in the command prompt and the bat file. You can push your code to Git repository and GitHub repository. You can run your test through Jenkins. This is where the real thing comes here. Selenium Grid and Docker. You need to understand this very carefully. When you develop an application, what we keep in mind, whatever the product which I develop, it should work across multiple platforms without any issue. It should not have any issue. It should work as it is in multiple platforms. If I develop that code or the product, if I develop Amazon website, let's take this Amazon website. If I develop this Amazon website in Linux operating system, the same Amazon website should work without issue in Mac, in Linux. Also, in different different browsers, it can be Linux, it can be Firefox, it can be Chrome, it can be Edge, it can be Safari, it can be Opera, it can be Internet Explorer. Like this, multiple areas, multiple platforms, on multiple platforms, it needs to work very clearly, very perfectly without any issue. Developer develops, but who is responsible to test that product, to certify that product it is working perfectly on multiple environments? Tester's responsibility to execute the code on multiple environments and to make sure that the product is working on multiple environments without any issue. You will use this Selenium Grid. Selenium Grid is used for parallel testing and for cross-browser testing. Parallel testing and cross-browser testing. If you see here, this is what a Selenium Grid. Selenium Grid works on hub and node concept. Hub and node concept. Hub means it will be there in the client machine only. Nodes means will be there on remote machines. Those nodes are categorized into Mac, Linux as well as Windows operating systems. Every node which is also like a system, which is also like a server, will be configured with respect to browsers. If you want to execute your test case on Mac and respect to browser, your hub which is connected with a network with, I mean, all these nodes and hubs are connected with the help of network, a common network. Once you use that command, it will go and search all the nodes. If any matching node is available, it will just go and execute your test case on that matching node. Always Selenium Grid works on hub and node concept. Hub means where we have written our test cases, where we are executing our test cases, controlling entire setup is called as a hub. Hub will be there in the client machine. Node will be a remote machine from where we want to execute our test cases on respect to browser and operating system. In real-time environment, we will create nodes. How you can create nodes? By multiple virtual machines, because since virtual physical machines are very costly, that too for temporary purposes you will use these physical machines. So if they are meant for temporary purposes, if you purchased a laptop for temporary purpose, it is of no use. Once you purchase a laptop, you need to use that for some extent. Without using that, if you purchase, it is waste of money. So companies also will not spend lot of money on physical machines. So instead of that, what we will do for achieving this, we'll create virtual machines for testing purposes. These virtual machines can be created by two concepts. One is virtualization, and the other way is by containerization. This where the Docker comes here. Containerization, Docker. Virtualization, you need this hypervisor software. On the same physical machine, by using this hypervisor, you will create multiple virtual machines. If you create multiple virtual machines, what are all the resources available on your system? They will be used by those virtual machines, which is again a very risky thing. So we will avoid this virtualization also. We'll go for containerization. With the help of images, you will create virtual machines without operating system. Virtual containers are nothing but there are also applications without host OS. Let us see one by one point very clearly. First thing, you need to execute your test cases on multiple operating systems and browsers. For that, you need this Selenium Grid. How you can install this Selenium Grid? So just search for Selenium. This is what the official website. Just click on downloads. Just scroll down. You can see it here. You can see Selenium Grid here. So just click on this. Once you click on this, the Selenium Grid will be automatically downloaded. Just to place this some location. So right now you can see I have already downloaded, kept in C drive inside this Selenium folder. This is what a Selenium server, which is nothing but a Selenium Grid. Just open the terminal inside this location, CMD. Once you specify CMD, you need to activate this Selenium Grid. I'm just using this standalone server. That means the same laptop which you are using will be operating as a hub, will be operating as a node. But in companies, we'll have different virtual machines. Some virtual machines will be operating as a hub, some virtual machines will be operating as node. But right now, for learning purposes, I'm just using the same machine as a hub and a node. So I have downloaded this standalone Selenium Grid. There are two versions of Selenium Grid. One is standalone as well as distributed setups. Standalone setup as well as distributed setup. So I have downloaded this standalone and kept in somewhere in the location in the C drive. So just open that command prompt in that location. Specify this command. What is that command? Java -jar Selenium server. Selenium server. Very important command. You should never forget this. So you need to specify the version. What is the version? 4.25.0 .jar. So it is a standalone setup. In a single machine, I am just setting up hub and server. So you need to specify stand alone. Stand alone. Just click on enter. Once you click on enter, you can see it here. It is just starting that Selenium standalone server. Now you can just use this IP location or this URL for opening that in the browser. I am just opening that in the browser. You can see it here. This is what the console of Selenium Grid. If you see these stereotypes, 8 number of sessions for browser you can execute parallelly in the grid environment. For Chrome, you can use Chrome browsers, multiple Chrome browsers at a time, 8 Chrome browsers at a time. Firefox browsers, 8 Firefox browsers at a time. Internet Explorer, 1 Internet Explorer. Edge browsers, 8 Edge browsers concurrently, parallelly you can run. For parallel testing, for cross browser testing, you can see Windows is having Chrome operating system. The same machine, my laptop, I'm just using this as a hub as well as a node. If it is a node, what is the operating system of that node? What is the operating system of my laptop? Windows. So that is the reason you can see Windows operating system. In my Windows operating system, I have Chrome, I have Firefox, I have Edge, I have Internet Explorer. But if you connect it to other nodes in the distributed mode, so what are all the nodes which are having their respective operating systems and browsers will be available here. This is what the console. In the console, you can see all the configurations, all the platforms, all the browsers. This is what the console. This is how you can just start that Selenium Grid. Once you start that Selenium Grid, so you will execute your test cases on remote machine. Remote machine is nothing but a node. So you need to specify that remote option inside this WebDriver. You can see it here. This is what the simple test case which I have just written. You can see I'm just using this Chrome. Where you are executing this Chrome inside your same system. You are not executing this parallelly. You are not executing this on remote machine. If this is a remote machine, instead of Chrome, you need to specify remote. Let us see the same example. I'm just taking it here. If you see, I'm just pasting it here. So you need to use that URLs. You can see I'm just importing this WebDriver common.py. So you need to specify WebDriver.chrome options, the same stuff as it is without any issue. But the thing is, you need to specify hub URL. Very important URL it is. Hub URL. Hub underscore URL. So what is the hub URL? This hub URL is a combination of IP address of the hub machine. IP address of hub machine. You can see it here. Plus hub port. By default, the Selenium Grid will work on this 4444 port, 4444 port. By default, it will operate on this. Along with this port number, you need to specify /wd/hub. This is what the grid URL. So if you see here, this is what my IP address. This is the IP address which I am just taking. Control C, come here. You can specify this. This is what the IP address of the machine. This is what the hub port. Along with this, you need to specify this. This is what the grid URL. You should never forget this. I need to use this as a hub URL. So I have specified this clearly in the inside a document. You can just refer that document post this session. So this is what the hub URL. That means instead of executing this in your machine, you need to execute this in node machine. For that node machine, which is a remote machine, will be having some URL. So you need to specify that URL. If you see here, you can just comment this and you can just specify driver equal to WebDriver dot remote. You need to specify remote. Remote is what in super class of all the classes. For this remote, you need to specify command executor, which is an parameter. For this parameter, you need to pass this hub URL as an argument. Also, options is what and desired capabilities or desired specifications of a browser. You need to specify those options. You need to specify on which operating system, on which browser I need to execute my test case. For that, which you have already defined these capabilities. For these capabilities, you need to set platform name, opt.platform name. So what is that platform which you want to execute? Windows 10. My operating system is Windows 10, so I have specified Windows 10. Suppose if the node operating system is Linux, instead of Windows 10, you can specify Linux. If it is Mac, instead of Windows 10, you can specify Mac. Along with this, I need to specify that browser, on which browser I need to execute my test case. So opt dot along with that platform name, I can specify this browser name also. So WebDriver dot Chrome options opt dot browser name. Browser underscore. You can specify that browser name as, suppose I need to execute this in Chrome browser. Let's see. Post that I will execute in Firefox browser. You are just initialize this driver variable. This is what the only thing which you need to do. You no need to do anything else. I'm just executing this run login logout. So once I execute this, you can see it's not able to find this session. So yeah, double forward slash you have specified. Just remove that. Execute this one more time. Run login logout. You can see it here, sessions. This is what the session which is already created. I am executing the test case. Once I execute the test case, this is what the session. This session will automatically close once the browser is closed. You can see right now I am not closing that browser. Let me close that browser. Driver dot quit. I'm just quitting that browser. I'm just closing this. So once I close this, you can just see. You can just refresh this. This instance will be closed automatically. Or let me execute this one more time. If you see here, right click, run login logout. Yes, by default, Selenium Grid executes your test cases in a headless mode. So that is the reason when I execute this, just to see it here, there is another instance of test case. You can see there are total 8 instances of Chrome, 2 instances. The previous instance is already there as it is. You can just, it will close automatically once, because I have already closed that. But in this run, you can see it here. It has created 2 sessions. And the last session is automatically killed. Why it is killed? You have executed your test cases. You need to close your browser. So that is the reason it has closed. So total still 7 instances of Chrome I can run. Suppose if you want to execute your test case in Firefox browser in the same operating system as like the node, You can specify Firefox. Run, login, logout. It will just create some Firefox instance. No, it is not creating Firefox instance. The reason is you need to specify proper Firefox options. We'll just modify this. So opt equal to WebDriver dot Firefox options. Now it will execute that in the Firefox browser. This Firefox browser will not be having this experimental option. You can just comment this. Run, login, logout. You can see it here. A Firefox instance will be created. You can see this is what the Firefox instance. This is what a platform. So this Firefox instance will automatically close. The reason is once you execute your test case, you no need of that instance. So that instance will be automatically closed. It can be used by other test cases if they are running parallelly. This is how you have executed your test case without page object model. I need to implement this inside this page object model pattern. For that, I will just use one more parameter because Selenium Grid or Docker concept comes with the name remote. So I'll specify one option here, execution environment. So what is that execution environment? I will specify local. If you want to execute your test cases in local machine. Also, you'll have one more option as a remote. Try to understand this very carefully. I can understand. If you are a very beginner, you will not be able to understand this very clearly. So don't worry. Just have some patience. So accordingly, I will have one more method inside this read properties. I need to read this environment as well. So in execution environment, I'll pass this environment to this conf.test.py so that I will just use that as it is. If you see here, I'm just modifying this conf.test file one more time. The reason why I am modifying this is every time you will execute your test cases not by PyCharm. You will execute your test case with the help of commands. At the end of the day, with the help of Jenkins pipeline or with the help of Azure pipelines, you will execute your test case in one of the agent machine of testing pools. For testing, you will have some machines allocated. Those machines are also remote machines. With the help of Jenkins pipeline, what are all the code hosted in Git or Azure repos, you will just host on remote machine and you will just execute your test case. At that time, you will not have this PyCharm installed on that machine. You need to execute all the things with the help of commands. Right now, you can specify that command also. If you want to execute locally, you can specify local. If you want to execute remote, you can specify remote like this. So this is what a predefined thing which you will not be seeing this very easily, but for now it is not required. Just only the thing which you need is how you can get this URL. Just that what we have seen. I will provide you the document with a clear-cut explanation post this session. You can just go through this. Now I will just open this terminal. I will just use one of the option is --os. So that OS can be a Windows. In Windows, I need to execute my test case in Firefox browser. You can specify Firefox ---- browser. Firefox ---- operating system is Windows. So you are executing that config.ini. You can see locally. So you no need this OS also. OS is what an optional parameter. I have specified there. You can just remove this. You can just specify Firefox only. You can see it here. It is opening this Firefox instance. Because in locally, you will not have any node instance created. So that is the reason. You can see it here. No instance is created. No running or queued sessions at this moment. Also, I'm just enabling this remote. So if it is remote, I need to specify one of the option hyphen hyphen OS Windows operating system Windows. So once you click on enter, you can see it here. Some instance will be created here. So yes, you can see some instance is created and it will be automatically killed because it is executed successfully. So if you can see it here, yes, it is passed. Also, you can see this is what the report. You can just reload the disk. Yes, this is what the another report which it has got generated. Let us see which we need to modify this. Yes, in this location you need to specify the reports. So what is my location? Workshop is my location. So I'm just executing this one more time remotely. You can see it here, 1/8 session. So another session it is concurrency 2 browsers you are opening instantaneously one by one and you are executing the test case. Yes, it is successfully executed. So that is the reason you can see a past status. So once you open this, you can just open this, open in browser Chrome. You can see this is what the report of that particular test case. You can just customize this report. Going ahead, you can understand. But right now, this is how you can just generate the report. Also, you are executing this test case in the same machine, which is acting like a hub and a node. That means on the same machine, generally you need to create multiple virtual machines. For that, you need this hypervisor. Hypervisor is required. You can see it here. Virtual machines are created on the same system, same operating system with the help of hypervisor. Again, these virtual machines will be having OSS, guest OSS, guest operating system. If it is Windows, if it is Linux, if it is Mac, they will be respect to operating systems. On those operating systems, for the application to work, they will have some dependencies. You can just install those dependencies. This is how virtual machines are done. So virtual machines are also very costly. So to avoid those costing issues, and if there is any infrastructure issues, we'll go for containers. Containers are also virtual machines, but without guest OS. Without guest OS. On the same operating system, we'll have a container. For one specific application, generally we maintain one container, but in one container, you can maintain multiple applications also. But in this case, on the same operating system, you can have a container without this guest OS. So virtual machine without operating system is what a container. How you can create a container? With the help of image. With the help of image. If you see here, image is present in Docker Hub. So Docker is what a containerization tool. Because of time issue, I am not specifying even more detailed things, but whatever is required, I am specifying. Just try to listen this very carefully. So with the help of images, you will create containers where those images are present inside this Docker Hub. So Docker Hub is a cloud-based repository. Docker Hub is a cloud-based repository which it contains images created by users, partners. It's like a store. Repository is like a store which containing images. With the help of images, you can run a container. You can create a container. You can stop the container. Like this, you can have n number of things with the help of images. So this is what a Docker container lifecycle. You will push the image or you will pull the image. If you created an image, you can push so that that will be used by other persons as well. If there is another image which is already there inside this Docker Hub, you can just pull that by using this pull command. Yes, we will see a lot of pull commands are also there. With the help of this Docker image, Docker engine, with the help of images, you can create containers. Docker engine, with the help of this Docker engine, by using images, you can create containers. Containers will be having multiple states. You can run the container, you can stop the container, you can delete the container. We'll be seeing all this stuff with the help of commands right now. Also, at last, what is the difference between virtualization and Docker? Virtualization, it's like an isolation operating system. On the same operating system, you will use another operating system. So between those two operating systems, you will not have any communication. But with the help of hypervisor, we'll create another operating system. With the help of virtualization, you can create an isolation operating system, but Docker isolation is container. Space is wasted in virtualization because guest OS. In Docker, there is no guest OS. Space is not wasted. Every file is installed in virtualization because that is an operating system. On an operating system, everything you can install. But in a container, whatever it is required for an application, that only you can specify. It will take a lot of time to restart virtual machine. But for Docker, it will take very less time to boot. To start a container, it will take very less time, but to start a virtual machine, it will take a lot of time. So these are main differences between virtualization and Docker. So this is how a Selenium grid is having some problems. Those problems can be avoided by using this Docker with the help of images. You can execute your automation script on any browser, on any operating system. But the thing is, what if your automation project requires Java 8 of Java, and for Chrome browser it is version 65? Like this, on the same operating system, multiple versions are required, which is a very complex issue, complex task. Also, if you maintain multiple configurations in one machine, there will be a lot of issues. So to avoid that, you'll go for Docker. In the Docker, you will have multiple images for multiple operating systems and for multiple browser versions also. You will use Docker instead of Selenium Grid. With the help of a grid, with the help of a Docker, you can execute your test cases on multiple machines. Now you need Docker to work with Docker and to integrate with Selenium Grid. You need Docker. How you can install Docker? This is what a step-by-step document. Just click on this link. You'll just go to this Docker page. Just download the Docker. You can see these are all the step-by-steps with images I have specified. So once you click on install now, your Docker will be installed, and you can just restart your machine so that Docker will be up and run. Docker background service, Docker desktop service. You can see it here. Once you install Docker, you can just check what version it is, whether it is having some issues or not. If it is not properly installed, you will not be able to see the version. So if you can see it here, I'm just opening this. I'm just closing this. Once you close this, you can see Selenium Grid also will not be able to run. I'm just closing this. I'm just commenting. You can see there has been error while loading Selenium Grid and queued sessions from the grid. So you can just close this. Right now, I have already installed Docker in my local machine. So you can see it here. This is Docker desktop. Just clicking on that. I have already installed this Docker software. So if you see here, this is how the UI of this Docker. If you see, I'm just opening this. So if you see here, this is what a Docker home page. So once you install the Docker, you need to sign up so that you can use all the options inside this Docker. Also, you need to see this Docker hub. So just to search for Docker hub. So you can see it here. So this is what a Docker official website. Just click on this Docker official image. So all the containers are available in the form of images. So just click on these images. So there are almost 10,000 images available. So I want to work with Selenium. So just to specify Selenium here. You can see Selenium Node Chrome, Selenium Node Firefox, Selenium Hub, like this. You have multiple images. These images you can just download and you can just use it for your automation purposes. So just to see this on a high level, I am making you very clear. Just we have seen how you can execute your test cases on Selenium Grid. Right now, we'll execute our test cases on Docker Selenium Grid. You can see it here. I need to use those images. So if you can see, so I'll let me show you this. First, let me execute these commands. Docker version, Docker version. You can see if the Docker is successfully installed, it will show you client and server. Yes, it is successfully installed. This is what the version of my Docker. Also, you can also execute one more command, which is docker hyphen compose version. So once I click on install, you can see it here. This is what the version of the Docker. So version 2.29.2. You can specify. You can see the version like this. Also, what is the another step? You can see all this stuff in the place. So these are all different commands, guys. I will share you this document. You can just go through the to get that Docker version. You can use this Docker version command -v info hyphen help login. With respect to images, you can have this Docker images, Docker pull, like this. So you can see, I will just specify Docker images here. Docker images. Right now I am not having any images. Docker images. I'm not having any images, so that is the reason it is not showing anything. So you can just pull those images. Right now, for my project, I need three images. You can see it here. Docker pull Selenium Hub, Selenium Node Firefox, Selenium Node Chrome. I will just pull these images by using this pull command. Docker pull Selenium slash hub. Selenium Hub, you are just pulling. You can see it here. It is just pulling those images. It is taking some time. Yes, it is pulled. Similarly, you need to pull Docker pull. Use this pull command to pull the images Selenium slash node hyphen Firefox. So node is also like a machine which will execute your test cases on that node. Right? I'm just pulling this Firefox node also. It will take some time. Yeah, I will take the doubts. Meanwhile, we are at the end of the session, so give me some time. We'll see how many images we have downloaded right now. So if you can see, it is also downloaded. So we'll also download this Chrome image as well. So these images are required to create containers. With the help of containers, we'll run our automation script. It is taking some time. Yes, it is also downloaded. You can see how many images are available. Docker images. This is what one of the command. You can see these are the three images just now I have downloaded. Selenium Hub, Selenium Chrome. So Node Chrome, Node Firefox like this. Now the same images you can see inside images module. Selenium Hub we have just downloaded. Selenium Node also we have just downloaded. Latest, all the latest things we have downloaded. Selenium Node, Chrome, Firefox as well. Now what you need to do, you need to make these images to run as containers. To make these images to run as containers, you need to follow this document. So if you can see, you can just go through these commands later words, but right now, so you can see it here at the very beginning. I have shown you the nodes on the grid should be connected to a common network. First thing what you need to do, you need to create a common network. For creating common network, you need to execute this command docker network create grid. Grid is what the name of the network. Right now in this case, grid is what the suitable name. So I have just taken this name. Instead of that, you can also use another name. I'm using this grid. So I'm just executing here. So you can see. So docker network grid, it is already exist. I have already created that previously. So you can just see docker network ls. So these are the available networks. Bridge, grid, host, none. So these are available networks. So grid is one of the network name which I have already created. Now what you need to do, you need to run this image as a container. First thing, you need to start your hub. How you can start your hub? Just execute this command. So use these commands as it is. These are specified in the Selenium Grid documentation. I'm just using them as it is. So I'm just clicking on enter. You can see once it is running, that image is running in the form of container. You can see it here, how it is running. So inside containers, you can see Selenium Hub is what? An image which is running right now, which is a container. Image is just run in the form of containers. Containers are in the form of images. I have just run out this Selenium Hub. So you need to see this Selenium console. How you can see the Selenium console? As like in the previous case, Selenium localhost, like localhost 444. You can see this is what the Selenium grid. The grid has no registered nodes yet, but previously we have started the Selenium grid. But right now, what we are doing, we are just starting this Selenium grid with the help of images, with the help of containers by using Docker. So you can avoid this virtualization issues. What you need to do again, you need to start this Firefox node as well as Chrome node. In this case, I will just paste it in the notepad. I will see if there is any issue. So I will just take this. If you are having any spaces, it will not be executed perfectly. You can just see it here. Yes, it is also up and running right now. You can see another container. What is that another container? Selenium node Firefox app and running. So let us execute this first in the node. Next we'll execute this in Firefox. You don't need to modify anything inside this test case. Just execute your test case as it is. Instead of this, right now I will specify Linux. The reason is you can see it is what a Linux operating system, because the image which you have downloaded is a Linux operating system and the browser is Firefox. So that is the reason it is specifying Firefox here. So instead of Windows, I will specify Linux. Once I specify Linux, you can see it is just opening this Firefox browser instance. You can see session is already created. This session is created. You can see it here. It is executing our test cases. Once our test case is successfully completed, yes, it is passed, that session will be automatically killed. It will take some time. Sessions, and you can see it here. Divert.quit or test login. Asset false, asset true. This is already closed. Yes, it will take some time to close the session, but this is not a problem. It will automatically done in the background. But you are executing our test case with the help of containers. Those containers are present previously in the form of images. Also, I will just make this Selenium Chrome up and running. Instead of Firefox, I will specify Chrome. Yes, the Chrome is also up and running right now. You can see the Chrome is also started right now. Now I will execute my test case. Instead of Firefox, Chrome I will specify. So this will be executed inside Chrome browser. You can see Chrome browser on Linux. You can just go to the Selenium Grid. You can see on the Linux operating system, you are executing your test case on the Chrome browser. So this is how you can execute your test cases on Selenium Grid and Docker. In the Selenium Grid, you need this virtualization concept. Virtualization is very, very costly. You need virtualization. For creating virtual machines, you need hypervisor, which uses host operating system resources, which will badly affect the performance of a machine. So to avoid that, you will go for containerization. Nothing but by using containers, you will run your application without operating systems. This is what how you can integrate Selenium Grid and Docker for an automation project.